Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, my friends. In this video, we're going to be talking about Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, an upcoming fighting game launching later in April, and also later this week we'll have an open beta on all platforms. I've been seeing a lot of interest in this game now, just kind of building up, especially with that beta very near. Just from the general fighting game community itself, and also just from, the general gaming community. And I figure, in this video, let's just go over what is exactly this game. A bit of a primer, if you will, to help understand the game, the Fatal Fury franchise, and also the mechanics, as this game is definitely mechanically in depth. In recent years, there's definitely been charges levied at, modern fighting games for dumbing the games down and all that. That is not the case in this game. There's no dumbing it down here. There's a lot to learn, and many of the mechanics are very old school. And very unapologetically so. They know the kind of game they want to make. So we're going to talk about, gameplay system mechanics and all that. It's not necessarily going to be a full-on beginner guide. Don't worry, that'll be at launch. Don't worry. Come launch, I'll have all sorts of guides for you, but we'll cover the gameplay. But we'll cover that in a minute here. I'll timestamp that if you want to skip forward. But let's talk about just the game itself and the franchise itself. In recent times, what you've probably heard about Fatal Fury is probably Terry Bogard, who's on screen right now, and Mai Shiranui, both making big splashes as guest characters in Street Fighter 6. Well, Fatal Fury is home for them. This is where those characters originally come from. They make lots of guest appearances in other fighting games, and especially in a lot of weird mobile phone games as well, lots of those. But yeah, they're very popular, but this is home base for them. And as far as Fatal Fury goes, this is the first Fatal Fury in a very, very long time. Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is the direct sequel to Fatal Fury Mark of the Wolves, also known as Garou Mark of the Wolves. And that game came out in 1999, so it's been a while. But it goes to show, hey, fighting games are back in a very big way, because here's a game getting a sequel 25 plus years later. And part of the idea of City of the Wolves, other than, being a competitive fighting game, is they're here to finish the story. The Fatal Fury franchise, very long-running, long-existing franchise, and the main line of the story has always been the epic battles of heroic Terry Bogard versus the dastardly Geese Howard. Geese, another very iconic video game character, and the story ends, in quote, with Geese dying rather than accepting Terry Bogard's help. Problem is, Geese left a son behind, and Marie, his wife, was already dead quite some time ago, so young Rock Howard is very much an orphan until he's taken in by Terry Bogard. Then we time skip forward to the Garou Mark of the Wolves timeline. We're now further in the future. Terry is older, he's middle-aged. Rock Howard is now a young man. We have a bunch of new characters with their own, stories, their own problems, their own issues, and of course reasons to fight each other. Still set in the iconic South Town, which is the main focal point of many different SNK franchises, not just Fatal Fury. We got new bad guys vying for the throne of Geese's empire since his death, people just trying to do something in the power vacuum. And leading up to this new game, one little issue. Turns out Rock's mother never actually died. She's been alive this whole time. We don't know what they're doing with it, because that's for the new game to figure out, but that's kind of the main plot focus moving forward. And of course, is Geese truly dead? Because he's came back to life once before, and maybe they're leaving us hints. Who knows? And the new game, on top of all the usual stuff, is going to have things like an RPG mode where you can go around, fight, characters, do a bunch of stuff. There's going to be AI battles as well. We'll have color edit, and of course, cross play between systems, rollback netcode for online. Basically, all the good fixings, everything you would expect in a modern fighting game. Even a control style called Smart Style, which is effectively evocative of modern controls in Street Fighter 6. For people who are newer to fighting games and don't want to necessarily learn the old school way just yet. So lots of good stuff in the game, for sure. So that's the quick 101 on the franchise of Fatal Fury. Now for the actual game itself, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. If you're newer to fighting games, or if you don't, play other fighting games besides, say, Street Fighter, but well, isn't this kind of like Street Fighter? And yeah, there's certainly similarities. SNK and Capcom have certainly vibed off each other over the decades, let's put it that way. Check out this video if you want some more info on that. But before we deep dive into mechanic stuff, let's give you the basics of what this game is. It's what we call a 4-button game. In that, it's light punch, light kick, heavy punch, heavy kick, done. And of course, all your other buttons can be various shortcuts of, the various button presses together. And naturally, you use the buttons to go about kicking and punching your opponent in the head and do motions to get various special moves. One thing to note is many forms of this, but this game's unapologetically old school. So on top of your regular normals, you also have proximity normals. So your various lights and heavies change if you're closer to the enemy. So say Street Fighter used to have this, although starting in Street Fighter V, they got rid of the concept. The concept is very much alive in this game. And, well, let's talk mechanics now. So this game's very much a big blend of old and new, as it retains just about every mechanic from the original Mark of the Wolves, you know, the game from 1999. So it still has all those gameplay systems, but it also added a whole new layer of gameplay systems with the Rev system, which is very core and just part of the game experience. So let's talk the old school stuff that's in the game first before we move on to the new school stuff. So a real big one is just core movement. So you might notice a lot of jumping around in some of the footage here. There is more than one kind of jump in this game. So Street Fighter, you jump. That's it, that's all. In this game, there is 3 kinds of jumps. There is, you know, the regular stock jump. There is also a dash jump where if you're running or dashing, certain characters run, certain characters dash, it's different character to character. But if you're running or dashing, then you'll get a much higher than regular jump. And also, if you just tap up, then you'll get a short hop. So it's a lower than average jump. Because there is multiple angles of jumps, that makes jumping a lot scarier in this game because the angle is not necessarily fixed every single time on a jump like it is in Street Fighter. So generally, offense is more varied as far as like movement goes because characters can run, they have 3 kinds of jumps. And the defense is also very strong in this game because we have things like Just Defense. Just Defense is one of the core signature mechanics of the franchise, and it's a really big deal. So how do you do it? Well, when you have an attack coming your way, just tap block, like right before it hits. As long as you block right before the move hits, you just defend the move. In essence, I guess you can think of it like a parry. But it's a lot stronger in a lot of ways. Every Just Defense heals you just a little bit, and it also lowers your meter just a little bit, so there's very tangible rewards. Now add in the fact that you can just defend in the air. It's not just on the ground. We talked about how jumping's so strong in this game, right? With 3 kinds of jumps. Well, 2 of those 3 jumps, as long as you have the timing, you can just defend in the air. You're not allowed to block in the air. There is no air blocking. This isn't like Guilty Gear or something, right? If you want to defend yourself in the air, you need that timing. It's actually not that strict overall, but you do need some timing to just defend in the air. So you can just defend on a regular jump, a super jump, a dashing jump, but you can't do it on a regular hop because regular hops, they're very low to the ground. They're already offensively very powerful. So it'd be too much if you could also just defend on top of that. So very powerful mechanic, right? I think you would agree. And there's even more to it. There's things like guard cancels. So if you just defend, you can cancel the recovery of your guard into a special move. It's not a guarantee it's going to hit. You know, it doesn't make it invincible. It doesn't make it any faster startup, but you can basically just immediately go from defending to attacking on the spot, which is a really good way to, you know, change the tide of the flow of the battle. Once again, this game defensively compared to modern fighters is very strong. Most modern fighting games are doing everything they can to kill defense. This is not one of those games. There's also the 0 frame. So if you just defend and then cancel your just defend into a super move, it removes the entire startup of the move. It happens immediately. Like the animation still plays out, yes, but as far as the context of the game goes, the opponent is still stuck on the frame they hit you on with the just defend, and then your super move happens before they're allowed to do anything, effectively guaranteeing punishes in many situations. And there's even more layers deep, honestly. I don't want to scare you here, so we're not going to go through everything. But just one concept right there, just defense is a very, very big part of the game. So there's that, right? There's also some other things to talk about. We have feints, breaks, and the SPG system. So we'll start with the SPG system here. So we're going to start a new round here, and you may notice on the character's health bars, there's specific parts of the health bars that are glowing. When you're in this glowing part of your health, you're at your best. So you can see here, Rock, he's in it immediately. It's the start of his health and he'll start glowing as soon as the round starts. For Maya though, it's in the middle of her health bar. So you choose where this starts. It can either be at the beginning of your health bar, the middle, or at the end. And when you're in this mode, well, one thing is when you're in the mode, your health regenerates. It's not gigantic, but you will regain just a little bit of health every second. So the longer you don't get hit, well, then that's great. You get more and more health back. When you're in this part of your health, it also unlocks your Rev Blow. Rev Blow is you turn green, and then you just have hyper armor. You can armor through any amount of attacks, and then attack the enemy through on the other side. Every character has a grounded Rev Blow and an aerial Rev Blow, and these are always armored, and you can only ever do it when you're in the SPG part of your health. So an armored attack is very useful for any character, right? But if you're not in that specific part of your health, well, it just doesn't work anymore. So it heals you, it also gives you a special attack, and also another special attack. Your hidden gear, which is your big cinematic super, your like most devastating super, you can only do it when you're in the SPG part of your health. You can have all the meter in the world, and it does in fact take all your meter, but you can have all the meter in the world, but if you're not in the SPG part of your health, you cannot do the hidden gear super move. On top of that, it also gives you discounts on various meter mechanics, which we'll talk about later. And basically, the lower it is in your health bar, the bigger the discounts you'll get. So it's important to be in this part of your health. This is the most important part of your health, and this is where your character is absolutely at their best. Now, let's talk feints and breaks. So, feints first. Everyone has feints, and feints on the face level works exactly like you think. It looks like you're going to do the move, and then you don't do the move. So if you're just looking to fake somebody out, hey, that's a way to do it, right? But it is also very strong as far as combo ability goes. Like this example from earlier. So Mai goes for close heavy kick, goes into her feint, and then goes into close heavy punch. So normally close heavy kick does not go into close heavy punch, but the feint lets her recover faster than the normal close heavy kick timing. And thus you can create combos that are only possible thanks to the feint recovering so quickly. And this is core throughout a lot of the cast. You're going to go through whatever move you're going to do, and instead of just letting it end naturally, you're going to go for a feint move. And since feints recover so quickly, it'll allow you to link a move afterwards that normally just would not work. In the case of many characters, it lets you go for a heavy move, into a feint, into another heavy move, and then continue your combo. Like this example from Jenny here. So goes into a heavy attack, does her feint, does the little pose, and then gets to go into another heavy attack, continuing the combo. So this is universal. Everyone has feints. Everyone has multiple feints, and being able to feint basically gives you stronger combo opportunities. And then there's breaks, which we're going to see here as well. So break is like pump the brakes. You can end moves early. So Jenny's about to go into her hind special, and then she breaks it here, meaning she doesn't finish the move, but keeps the juggle. The enemy is still launched, but she never finished a move, and then she gets a greater combo than she would have otherwise. And just like feints, this is another big deal. For combos, well, it helps you create combos. It lets you juggle when you wouldn't have juggles otherwise, because you're ending the move early. So you stay on the ground, you finish the move, and then the enemy is just airborne and launched up. And it also changes numbers on block, so it can make potentially unsafe moves on block safe on block. So let's use Mai as an example. So she gets a launcher here, right? So does Ninja Bees, breaks it, ending the move early, doesn't finish, into Hana Arashi, her uppercut basically, breaks it, doesn't end early, then EX Hana Arashi, breaks it, doesn't end early, then goes for the big cinematic super. So that's using 3 breaks to help extend the combo. And yes, you can break the same move twice in a combo as long as one is the regular version and the other is the EX version. So feints and breaks are 2 great ways to create combos as a whole. And then there's things like accel cancels, which, well, that's a whole other thing. But the combo system in this game is incredibly expressive, is basically what I'm trying to say. So that's a lot of the classical already existing, Goro / Fatal Fury mechanics. Now let's talk the Rev system. This is the really new stuff added here. This is what's on top of what already existed. Now the Rev system, you can see here, it's basically just the meters at the bottom, right? Fighting games have meters, sure. If you're looking to be dismissive and reductive, which, it does save time sometimes, you could say it's the Street Fighter 6 drive gauge system, but in reverse. You build meters to do supers as normal, sure, whatever, that's fine. But the Rev gauge goes up and up and up the more you do Rev system moves, like say Rev Arts, which you could otherwise call EX moves. Like in this combo coming up here, you see Hotaru. When she does an EX move, her gauge rises. And there's also Rev accel cancels, where you can cancel an EX move into another EX move. So basically you can chain various special moves into each other over and over. And you can kind of keep doing this as long as you're not fully using up your meter. You're revving up, the meter goes higher and higher, but as long as it doesn't go all the way over, you're good. The rev meter gradually goes down over time. Also doing things like hitting the enemy also lowers it, but doing things like blocking will raise it. This kind of promotes aggression. But then again, as we talked about earlier, defensive mechanics, if you just defend moves, it also lowers your gauge. So what happens when the gauge gets filled up? Well, that's not good. So if you use up all the gauge, go into the overheat state, you can see here very clear you're glowing red. And now there's two sizable penalties. One, you can't do anything using the rev system. So no more EX moves or cancels or whatever. You only have the base moveset as it stands. And secondly, now the guard gauge comes into play. So now your guard gauge can be damaged. It can't be damaged unless you're in overheat. And if someone depletes your guard gauge, if you block, even not too much, it's pretty easy to break it. But if you keep blocking, then that's it. If the guard gauge gets broken, they just open you wide up and they can do whatever combo they want to you anywhere on the screen. It's not like Street Fighter 6, where their burnout specifically is only terrifying in the corner. In this game, once you're in the overheat state, it's anywhere on screen can be a really big problem. Other rev mechanics like the rev guard, it negates all chip damage, and yes, chip does kill in this game. This is a brand new old school game after all, right? So it prevents all chip damage and also creates a great amount of pushback between the two players once a move is blocked. So it's a way to just help breathe and get some space between you two. It does cost you gauge every time you successfully block a move with rev guard, but the idea is, okay, I'd rather trade some gauge for some breathing room. So lots of mechanics, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. There's even universal crush system, where if you got the read, you can crush mids and lows. As you can see here, it has a little bit of a slow-mo effect, right? And everyone can do this. So there's a lot of mechanics here. It's mechanically in-depth. Is this a dumbed-down fighting game for beginners? Definitely not. Now, could you argue, is there too many mechanics going on? Well, for that, well, that's why this video exists, to help educate you on just what's going on in the game. A good amount of depth, a good amount of complexity leads to fighting games being fun, and there's certainly depth and complexity here. Got a lot of the classic mechanics that made the original Garou so fun and stood the test of time, and then a bunch of, new, more modern mechanics like the rev system to help sass things up, because like combo potential can be really crazy between feints, between breaks, between rev accel cancels. If you got the optimal hit and if you got a lot of resource to burn, you can get some really elaborate combos going on here. Like, Preacha is a really good example of that. The various gameplay systems very easily blend into each other here as we're trying to show on the screen. If you're a fan of cool comp, like everyone's going to have cool combos, don't worry there. And this is really, once you get down to it, not as complex as it seems. The open beta, as of the time of me making this video, goes live in a few days and it's going to be live for a while. And then of course the actual launch is later in April. This is Fatal Fury's big triumphant return after over 25 years. I'm personally really excited for it, and I kind of just want everyone else to be really excited for it too. So hopefully this video helps you understand the game and just kind of everything that's going on. Other than that, that is the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Fatal Fury.